Erin Underwood with Erin Underwood Movement, and I'm sitting here preparing for one of my classes tomorrow, and I'm going to be talking about the pelvic floor and the pelvis and how Kegels play a part in it and all the delicious stuff. So I wanted to just film a quick video with a few highlights so that you can have something to process and think about as you think about your pelvic floor, because a lot of what we're told, one, you might not know what a Kegel is, and that's fine. But in general, a really brief description of a Kegel is it's a pelvic floor exercise to strengthen and tone your pelvic floor. So imagine like if you're doing arm reps at the gym, it's similar to doing reps on your pelvic floor to strengthen that specific muscle. And I have a really mixed relationship with the word Kegel. I think it's a very undefined word. A lot of people mean different things when they say it. And so what a lot of people have been told, and I find this really often when I talk about it at workshops and in my classes, is the description of a Kegel is use the muscles you would use to stop your urine flow, and those are the muscles you want to be contracting. And some people even go so far as to say stop your urine flow, like do an exercise on the toilet while you're there, stop and start, stop and start, stop and start. Yay, you're practicing your Kegels. And the pelvis is a beautiful thing, and it has 45 muscles that are attached to and within the pelvic floor, the pelvis. And the stop and start muscles that us as females have are just this exterior level of the pelvis. So the pelvis has pelvic floor has multiple layers, and those are only using the external layers to start and stop the urine flow. And so what also can happen is a lot of us with pelvic floor dysfunction are trying to gain control over our bladder and over our pelvic floor, and we want to be the ones to decide when we have to go to the bathroom and not have our bladders run our lives. And so if we are neurologically sending these mixed signals to our brain of, oh, I have to go, oh, I have to stop, oh, I have to go, oh, I have to stop, oh, wait, and that can really create a lot of extra work for your brain to have to process, and it doesn't send consistent messaging, which is what you really want to do when you're working on healing the pelvic floor, is really send consistent messages of, I'm going to go to the bathroom when my bladder is full, and when my bladder isn't full, then I'm not, and working towards that. Not that you have to do that like from day one, but that you are taking steps towards that direction. And so that is something that when I talk about pelvic floor, engaging the pelvic floor is really the terminology that I'm going to be using. I don't really use the word Kegel at all because, like I said, a lot of people mean a lot of different things when they say it. So what you can do is really, engaging the pelvic floor isn't bad, but the pelvic floor really goes a lot deeper than just the muscles that are used to stop the urine flow. And so I'm going to film an exercise video at some point, really kind of talking us through feeling the pelvic floor. I don't have time today, but this is something that I do want you to think about. Is a strong muscle is a muscle that can not only contract but can release. And so a lot of times with our pelvic floor, we're just contracting because we believe this terminology that our pelvic floor is like a rubber band, and when a rubber band loses its elasticity, it's just broken and it can never regain it, which is true for a rubber band, but it's not true for your pelvic floor. So muscles can be weak in two different ways. They can be unable to contract, which some people call too loose, which is not my favorite terminology because it implies a ability that's just been lost and is lost forever. But we all know, like if you put your arm in a cast, it's going to be weaker and you're going to have a harder time contracting, but the more you use it, the more you're going to be able to do it. And so it's not like forever destroyed, but we have this like mindset around the pelvic floor that it's just been destroyed. And so, you know, we want to strengthen. So you go to a PT and they'll help you work through that with both your pelvic floor and with your arm. There are pelvic floor PTs, which can be amazing, and a lot of women that I talk to don't even know that they exist. Also, a muscle can be weak in a way, not functional, in that it is too tight and it doesn't have the ability to go into its lengthened state. So the pelvic floor a lot of times can be too tense. It has the musculature in a contraction and it doesn't have the ability to release that contraction to go into a lengthened position. And so let's imagine you have a pelvic floor that's too weak, it's not functional, it can only walk around like this all day long, and then you ask it to do something where it needs to release, but it can't, then you can have some pelvic floor dysfunction, whether it be leaking or whether it be a prolapse or whatever it is that you're experiencing. Not only, there's this myth that goes around that like it can only be from a muscle that can't contract, that it's too long or it's too weak. So something to think about and chew on is this week, not only can you work on possibly engaging your pelvic floor, which I'm going to talk you through at some other point in a different video, but can you work on releasing your pelvic floor? So when you take a nice inhale, can you almost feel this expanding down below? And exhale, can you feel this gentle pulling up? And it's not this tense like grab, like yank your pelvic floor up, but just a gentle in and out. And that's something that expand on the inhale and exhale. Feel like you're pulling your pelvic floor up and into you, the air coming up all the way out from your pelvic floor all the way out of you. And just play around with that so that initially you're just creating some mindfulness around you don't only want to tense, you want to be able to release the pelvic floor. Have fun playing with that and let me know how it goes or if you have any questions.